Before we begin this story, if you're drawn to the dark stories that history tried to erase, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the stories we uncover every day. And let us know in the comments which state you're watching from. We love seeing how far these forgotten stories are reaching. In March 1885, Alice Brennan, a 32-year-old widow, filed a homestead claim on a quarter section of prairie land in Red Willow County, western Nebraska. Her husband, Frank, had died suddenly the previous month, leaving her almost nothing except a used Stevens double-barreled 12-gauge shotgun, about 30 shells, roughly $15 in cash, and the shared dream of proving a 160-acre claim under the Homestead Act. Alice possessed no livestock, no farming tools beyond basic hand implements, and no nearby family or support network. The claim Frank had scouted, 18 miles northwest of McCook, included a small spring for water and soil suitable for wheat and corn. Alice had never seen the land before filing. She trusted Frank's judgment and proceeded alone. The journey to the site took nearly a full day on foot, carrying her few belongings. She arrived to find untouched prairie, no structures, no broken sod. Her first task was shelter. Lacking money for lumber or strength for heavy logs, she chose a dugout carved into a low hillside near the spring. For 3 exhausting weeks in April, she dug by hand, removing thousands of cubic feet of earth to create a 12 by 14-foot chamber with a 6.5-foot ceiling. She roofed it with cottonwood poles cut from a nearby creek, topped with grass and a foot of soil. Crude but functional, it offered protection from Nebraska's harsh weather and met the Act's residency requirement. With shelter in place by early May, survival turned to food. Her tiny cash reserve bought only basic bread and beans. Hunting became essential. Alice had learned shotgun basics as a child in Iowa. Now those skills meant the difference between eating meat or starving. Ammunition cost 50 cents for 25 shells, 2 cents each, so every shot had to count. She hunted rabbits at close range, 20 to 30 yards, prairie chickens, sometimes taking several with one barrel, and occasionally deer, which yielded 80 to 100 pounds of meat for drying or smoking. Deer required heavier loads and careful stalking, but one success could feed her for weeks. Discipline born of poverty made her a selective, efficient hunter. By midsummer 1885, she was down to about 15 shells. To stretch resources, she began trading fresh game to neighbors for flour, beans, salt, and other necessities. A rabbit costing 2 cents in ammunition might fetch goods worth 5 to 10 cents. One neighbor, Walter Kemp, 4 miles away, traded generously and openly admired her resilience. "I didn't think you'd last a month," he told her in July. "You're tougher than most men I know." Alice's first growing season was modest. Using only spade and grubbing hoe, she broke 8 acres of tough sod, planted wheat and corn seed bought with part of her $15, and harvested about 25 bushels wheat and 15 bushels corn, enough for next year's seed plus roughly $12 cash. Combined with hunting and bartering, it carried her through the isolating, confining winter of 1885-1886 in the dark dugout. The second season, 1886, brought improvement. 12 acres cultivated, better yields, 40 bushels wheat, 25 bushels corn, roughly $22 income. She bought 2 boxes of shells, 50 cartridges, replenishing her ammunition and extending hunting and trading capacity. In February 1887, nearly 2 years into proving, a letter from Thomas Brennan, Frank's older brother in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, arrived at the McCook post office. Expecting perhaps estate news, Alice read in shock. Thomas revealed Frank had married Grace Peterson in June 1878, fathered a daughter, Charlotte, born 1879, then abandoned them in August 1882 to escape mounting debts. Frank's 1883 marriage to Alice was therefore bigamous and legally void. Thomas had located Frank's death notice and wrote to learn if any assets remained to satisfy creditors. He absolved Alice of responsibility, believing she had been deceived. Reeling, Alice consulted McCook lawyer George Reynolds. He reassured her. The Homestead Act did not require a married woman's husband's surname. Claims were validated by residence and improvement in good faith. Her filing and continuous residency under Alice Brennan were secure. She could keep the name or revert to her maiden name, Alice Peterson, Legally, either worked. She chose to remain Alice Brennan. Changing it would invite endless explanations and felt like letting Frank's lies erase her 5 years of effort. Further letters from Thomas detailed Frank's pattern: charm followed by recklessness, debt, lies, flight. Frank had died fleeing pursuers, possibly creditors or lawmen, when his horse fell at night. He had rushed to Nebraska partly because homestead property enjoyed creditor protection under federal law. Alice wrote Grace, now remarried, to Edward Walsh. Grace replied warmly, without blame. Their correspondence grew into genuine friendship. Both recognized Frank's consistent deceptions, mirroring what each woman wanted to see during courtship, then evading responsibility after marriage. Grace viewed Frank's abandonment as ultimately liberating. It forced her to become self-supporting and later choose a stable partner. Community reaction varied. Some neighbors, like Walter and Louise Kemp, remained supportive. Others whispered about gullibility or immorality, despite Alice's good faith belief in the marriage. She answered questions honestly when necessary, preferring awkward truth to concealment. Farming progressed. By 1887, she cultivated 16 acres, about $35 income. 1888 reached 18 acres, $48 income. 1889 hit 20 acres, $60 income. She bought a used hand plow, then in 1891 a horse, enabling expansion to 30 acres by the mid-1990s and annual incomes of $80 to $100. The dugout gained an extra room, plus barn and chicken coop. In February 1890, Land Inspector William Crawford examined the claim. Impressed by 20 cultivated acres, solid improvements, and genuine production, he recommended approval despite the marital complication. The patent issued in March 1890 to Alice Brennan, single woman. That day, Alice visited Frank's grave on the homestead. "The land you planned to take is mine alone," she said. "You left lies and a shotgun. I used both to build what you never intended me to have." Grace and 11-year-old Charlotte visited in August 1890. Over 3 days, the women shared stories, laughed, cried, and recognized how Frank's betrayal had, unintentionally, forced both to discover strength and independence. Charlotte asked hard questions about her absent father. Alice answered gently and honestly. Alice married Samuel Worth in 1895, a respectful widower with his own homestead and 2 daughters. They executed a premarital agreement keeping properties separate. They farmed both places cooperatively, sharing labor and companionship without merging assets. The shotgun, retired as prosperity grew, hung on the wall as a symbol. Alice taught Samuel's daughters to shoot, passing on lessons of self-reliance. She farmed actively for over 40 more years. Samuel died in 1923. Alice eventually sold his place and consolidated on her original quarter. She died in 1931 at 78 and was buried beside Frank, a final, quiet irony. After her death, the shotgun went to a historical society. Its placard read, "Used by Alice Brennan to prove homestead claim 1885 to 1990. Only significant asset left by husband Frank Brennan, whose bigamous marriage to Alice was later revealed to be void. This weapon fed her, protected her, and enabled her to build a life from the ruins of deception." Alice's story endures as evidence that frontier women's lives were rarely simple and that remarkable strength could emerge from betrayal, scarcity, and a single shotgun.